Attorney General Merrick Garland is testifying at a House Judiciary Committee hearing Thursday dedicated to oversight of the Justice Department at a time when the agency is in the middle of several high-profile cases and controversies. Republicans have seized on Garland's recent memo to Justice Department employees about intervening in incidents of violence or intimidation targeting state and local school board officials. GOP lawmakers have criticized Garland for overstepping by getting involved in matters that should be handled by state and local law enforcement, and for issuing the memo days after the National School Boards Association asked the Biden administration to utilize tools including the terrorism-related Patriot Act to deal with these situations. The NSBA cited incidents of nonviolent disruption of school board meetings where parents voiced their concerns about issues such as the teaching of critical race theory, prompting Republicans to voice fears that federal involvement will influence conservatives to keep quiet. And committee ranking member Representative Jim Jordan, R. Ohio, attempted to show a video of parents at school board meetings during his opening remarks, but Chairman Representative Jerry Nadler, DNY, refused, claiming that Jordan did not provide 48 hours notice. Jordan stated that there is no official rule requiring such notice, but Nadler did not allow the video to be shown. Garland did not directly address the school board issue at all in his opening statement. He did make general comments about protecting Americans from threats, while also safeguarding people's freedoms. Every person living in this country expects and deserves that their government protect them against a wide range of threats, from international and domestic terrorism to cyber attacks to violent crime and drug trafficking, Garland said in prepared remarks submitted to the committee. As our country's chief law enforcement officer, I am committed to supporting law enforcement at all levels as they work to protect our country from these threats, while also zealously guarding civil liberties and ensuring our own accountability. Representative Steve Chabot, R. Ohio, was the first of several Republicans to bring up the school board issue at the hearing, telling Garland that he found it deeply disturbing that the National School Boards Association convinced the Biden administration to sic you and your Justice Department, the FBI, on involved parents as if they were domestic terrorists. Chabot noted that he and Nadler were both on the committee when Congress passed the Patriot Act, and that at the time they both had concerns about how the law could be used or abused. I can tell you, not in a million years did we dream that one day we would see the Justice Department treat American parents as domestic terrorists, Chabot said. No one has the right to be violent or threaten violence, he added. He stated that violent actors can be dealt with by security or other officials, but we don't need the vast power of the federal government throwing its weight around. In response, Garland noted that his memo did not mention domestic terrorism or the Patriot Act, and did not envision such issues coming into play regarding school board incidents. Like you, I can't imagine any circumstance in which the Patriot Act would be used in the circumstances of parents complaining about their children, nor can I imagine a circumstance where they would be labeled as domestic terrorists, he said. Jordan asked if it was a coincidence that Garland's memo went out days after the NSBA sent their letter to the White House. The Attorney General said he first read about the letter in the news and that no one in the White House discussed it with him. Nevertheless, he admitted that the letter was brought to our attention, and that someone at the White House had discussed it with someone at the Justice Department. When asked who from the White House and DOJ had that conversation, Garland said he did not know. In a tense exchange, Representative Mike Johnson, R.L., mentioned how Garland's son-in-law works for a company that publishes materials on critical race theory, a main issue being raised by parents complaining to school boards. Johnson asked if Garland had any agency ethics official review the situation and issue guidance before issuing. Garland said that nothing in his memo has to do with financial interests or the substance of what is being taught in schools, but deals with violence or threats of violence. There are no conflicts of interest that anyone could have, Garland said, adding that he is exquisitely aware of the relevant ethics requirements. Democrats focused on issues related to the January 6 Capitol riot, former President Donald Trump, and Trump's associates. Early on, Nadler asked about former Trump advisor Steve Bannon's refusal to comply with a subpoena issued by a select committee investigating the riot, and whether the Justice Department would expeditiously consider the referrals put forth by the Select Committee if the full House approves. The House of Representatives votes for the referral of a contempt charge. The Department of Justice will do what it always does in such circumstances. It will apply the facts and the law and make a decision consistent with the principles of prosecution, Garland replied. E.P. Steve Cohen, D. Tennessee, focused on several issues related to Trump. First, he referred to the Senate Judiciary Committee recent report on efforts by the former president to have Justice Department officials contest November's election results. Cohen asked if any of the DOJ employees involved are still with. Garland said that he was not certain, but that the main players involved were political appointees who are not part of the current administration. Cohen also challenged Garland's decision to have the DOJ get involved in defending a defamation case against Trump brought by E. Jean Carroll, who claimed he raped her. Sometimes being the ag and sometimes being the judge means taking positions with respect to the law that are required by the law but which you would not take as a private citizen, Garland said, clarifying that the DOJ was not defending whether Trump's words constituted defamation, but was dealing with the application of the tort claim. Cohen then asked about a potential investigation of Trump for possible campaign finance violations related to the payment made to Stormy Daniels in exchange for her silence regarding allegations of an affair between her and Trump. Former Trump attorney Michael Cohen pleaded guilty to various offenses, stating in court that individual 1, understood to be Trump, directed him to engage in criminal. Representative Cohen noted that while Trump could not be indicted while in office as per DOJ policy, he is not longer a sitting president. He asked whether not investigating or prosecuting Trump for this an abuse of equal protection. Garland replied that the norm of the DOJ is not to comment on whether they are investigating something or what the status is unless there is a charge, regardless of the people. Another issue that Garland could face as the hearing progresses is the ongoing surge of migrants crossing the southern border. The Attorney General was among administration leaders who traveled to Mexico earlier this month to discuss border security. Garland's Justice Department is also dealing with the issue of abortion, asking the Supreme Court to block enforcement of a Texas law that bans most abortions after doctors have detected a fetal heartbeat. This typically occurs around 6 weeks into a pregnancy, before some women are aware that they are pregnant and well before the established standard of fetal viability. The Attorney General could also face questions regarding the FBI's failures in investigating claims against convicted sex offender and former USA gymnastics doctor Larry Nassar. Athletes including Olympic champions Simone Biles, Ali Raisman and Michaela Maroney testified before the Senate Judiciary Committee in September, discussing how officials failed to act upon their allegations. Nassar was ultimately convicted in multiple state trials, and Deputy Attorney General Lisa Monaco revealed that the DOJ was reviewing their decision not to charge FBI agents. Garland's testimony also comes the same day that the full House will be voting on whether to hold former Trump administration advisor Steve Bannon in contempt of Congress for ignoring a subpoena from a House panel investigating the January 6 Capitol riot. If the House passes the resolution, the matter will be referred to the DOJ to determine whether or not to